Hello, 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 and welcome to Nursing News You Can Use at 5. I'm Tina Baxter, your host, and I want to welcome you to this great day on May 29th, 2024. Happy Wednesday to you. Let's start with our affirmation. I take regular breaks throughout my day and choose healthy stimulation. I speak positively with others and listen attentively. I take regular breaks throughout my day and choose healthy stimulation. I speak positively with others and listen attentively. And so that's our affirmation from the daily affirmation calendar from Louise Hay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some news because there's a lot to cover. And I'm going to go ahead and make the big announcement now and then also at the end of the show. But don't forget that our Fall Back in Love with Nursing Workshop is this Saturday. There's still time to get in. We still have a few seats left. So join us at the nurserockacademy.biz. Sign up for that event. Let's get into the news. Here is our first story, and it says, from Skilled Nursing News, a nightmare. AHCA files lawsuit against federal nursing home staffing mandates. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So the American Healthcare Association, AHCA, filed a lawsuit late Thursday against the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services for exceeding their statutory authority and arbitrarily and capriciously issuing a final minimum staffing rule. The lawsuit asked the court to issue an order and judgment dismissing the new staffing requirements that were finalized by CMS on May 10th, according to a press release issued by AHCA early Friday. They allege that this mandate exceeds the CMH's statutory authority, affects a baffling and unexplained departure from agency longstanding position, and creates impossible to meet standards that will harm thousands of nursing homes and the vulnerable Americans they serve. Dissatisfied with Congress' judgment, CMS decided to take matters into its own hands. At the direction of the president, the agency proposed and has now adopted a rule that overrides both of Congress' statutory requirements. So we will see what happens further with this new development and this ongoing case with the nursing staffing laws. Here's another story that I'm bringing out, and I like to bring out these stories because I want us to really think about safety in the workplace issues that keep coming up in long-term care, hospitals, etc. And so this story, I'm bringing this out. This is a crime story for the Tampa Bay Times. Bradenton man shot deputy after trying to break into a nursing home, sheriff says. So, a Bradenton man faces several attempted murder charges after trying to break into a nursing home and shooting a Manatee County Sheriff's Office deputy, the agency announced. This is a man that tried to kill one of my deputies. This is a man who tried to kill an innocent civilian inside this nursing home. Sheriff Rick Wells said, holding up a poster of Calicutty's mugshot during a Friday morning news conference. This is a man who will hopefully spend a lot of time not only in the Wells Motel, which is the Manatee County Jail, but also in the Department of Corrections. So it says, Wells said Calicutty, 40, tried to drive his car through the front door of the Aspire nursing home around 3:15 a.m. He then loaded a gun and shot at an employee who confronted him. So, not knowing why this person did it, it says the nursing home employee ran to the back and locked the doors, preventing him from entering the building. Which I want to say, this employee, you did the right thing. I am so glad you were there and able to do that and provide that security. But then my question is, why weren't the doors locked at 3:15 in the morning? That's why I'm bringing this story out. Why are the doors still open that someone can get into the building at 3:15 a.m. that should be there? So that's the question that I have. But anyway, let's go on. It says, before deputies arrived, Calicutty also shot into at least one nursing home window. None of the residents at the nursing home were injured, Wells said, but as of Friday morning, deputies say they do not know why Calicutty tried to break in. Why he chose to crash into the nursing home, we don't know why. Why he made the decision to shoot one of my deputies, we can only guess. The employees were not injured, but they called 911 to report the shooting, and deputies with the sheriff's office responded to the scene to begin searching for the shooter. Shortly after the deputies arrived, they found Calicuddy on the side of the building, but he refused to listen to their commands and shot at deputies, according to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office also returned fire, but the deputies turned to medical aid when Calicuddy shot one of them in the arm. After a law enforcement agency set up a perimeter in the area, a sheriff's office bloodhound helped locate and Calcutty, and he was arrested around 5:54 a.m. The injured deputy was in stable condition and was expected to return home Friday evening after receiving hospital treatment. Calcutty was not injured in the arrest, but he also was taken to the hospital. According to Wells, Calcutty has an extensive criminal history in Florida and New York. So this makes me wonder why this gentleman was shooting at a nursing home. Who was he after? And again, my big question is, why did the employee have to lock the doors? Shouldn't the doors have been locked at 3:15 in the morning? Just a question that I had. So this is why I bring this up, because I want us to start thinking about safety protocols and things like that. Okay. All right. Here's another story. Complaints. Excuse me. Let me make it bigger so I can see. This is from News 5, ABC News. It says complaints keep coming about Beechwood Nursing Home Complex with new owners. And so again, we're seeing some of these issues around entities taking over facilities, and then there's been changes. So it says employees and residents of a local nursing home say the new owners are not fulfilling their responsibilities. News 5 investigators started hearing of serious complaints about Beechwood's Menorah Park Nursing Complex, now called King David Healthcare Center. This is coming out of Cleveland, Ohio, and it says terrible. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. I've never had such a bad experience, said Nate Berger, who's 84. I have multiple abnormalities, Berger said as he described his legs and left arm are nearly totally paralyzed. The medicines he was taking caused an allergic reaction. So after getting treatment in the hospital, he was transferred to King David. He told us he started having problems there immediately. He said he was there for about a day during the May 4th weekend as a part of an official complaint to the Ohio Department of Health. The family said it reported that when Berger hit the call button in his room to alert staff he needed help, there were issues. You push it, you have no idea if it rang in any place, and it must have been at least an hour until somebody came. It's the kind of treatment that others with loved ones as King David are speaking publicly about, including a recent Beechwood City Council meeting. I need to know that when mom pushes her button and she needs to go to the bathroom, she's not going to wait 2 hours, said Karen Rosenblum while she addressed council earlier this month. News 5 investigators found that CMS and Ohio Department of Health reports Wig Realty LLC bought Menorah Park in December of 2023. The reports show the, quote, facility failed to ensure staff secured residents' medications. The facility failed to ensure assessments were accurately completed. It failed to ensure medical records were accurate and complete, and more. According to Union Representative Samara Knight from SCIU District 1199, the staffing is not the same that they're used to. I guess this was also at the city council meeting. It's a constant turnover of employees, and there's short staffing as well. The mounting issues even prompted the state senator Kent Smith to send a letter to the president of King David asking owners to address these concerns and explain what steps they are taking to correct them. Berger called himself a brittle diabetic. The family said its complaint to ODH includes problems with Berger's blood sugar levels. He told us the last straw before he checked himself out of King David was a breakfast given to him. He showed us pictures of a Danish pastry, cream of wheat, and a bag of brown sugar. The worst possible things. There was no real patient care. We have called and emailed King David Management several times, and it has ignored all of our requests for interviews and information. So again, there's information there if you want to further look at this story. But I am just bringing this up that we're continuing to have issues in long-term care as well as in other areas. This came out of USA Today, and I thought this was a very poignant story. And it says school nurses are worried about their jobs as pandemic funding expires. And this also I included in my newsletter blog. So if you want to get access to our newsletter, go over to the nurseSharkAcademy.biz and access the newsletter or the blog post there. But let's talk more. So it says school nurses are increasingly anxious that their workloads might expand or their jobs may disappear entirely when federal pandemic relief funds for U.S. schools expire by the end of the year. School districts have until the end of September to allocate what remains of the billions of dollars in coronavirus relief Congress sent their way in separate tranches during the pandemic, the Education Department has said. That deadline has prompted warnings from education advocates about looming budget shortfalls nationwide. The imminent fiscal cliff could have severe implications for students, including teacher layoffs and school closures, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a think tank in Washington, D.C. Though U.S. schools have long faced a shortage of nurses, the disparity eased slightly when the federal government approved elementary and secondary school emergency relief, or ESSER funding, which many districts have used to hire nurses. With access to those federal coffers closing, some school leaders are scrambling to find the money elsewhere to retain nurses. Districts in Oregon and Oklahoma have reportedly considered layoffs. At a city budget hearing last week, New York City Education Department officials warned that roughly $65 million in federal funding for about 400 school nurses is set to expire. So you can see where this is becoming a really big problem across the country. And we've actually covered some of these issues before on what's happening with school nurses. And the fact that many school nurses are stretched thin as they are. So, according to a statement by Jenna Lyle, who's a spokesperson for New York Public Schools, says, we're grateful to the stimulus funding that has allowed us to ensure every school has a school nurse on site. And we will continue to advocate for and prioritize this need throughout the budget process. Kate King, a school nurse in Ohio and the president of the National Association of School Nurses, said that while it's tough to pin down how many nurses' salaries come from pandemic relief money, she has been hearing from nurses in districts across the country who are worried about what's to come. When districts started hiring during the pandemic, what they realized is how valuable school nurses are in school buildings. Unfortunately, when they hired nurses with ESSER funds, there was no thought of sustainability in those positions. So there's more information about this article. Please look at it at the USA Today. I don't have the time to go through all of it, but I want you to try to think about this. And if you're a school nurse and you have comments, please let me know. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to take a short break. Fall back in love with nursing workshop. Join us for this important webinar. Are you tired of talking about the problems in nursing and never hearing about the solutions? Are you ready for a fresh start? Come to our Fall Back in Love with Nursing webinar. I'll introduce the He, Me, We framework of entrepreneurship and the 12 principles of kingdom nursing. Don't be eaten alive. Join the Nurse Shark Academy and come feel the sun. Join us today at the nurseSharkAcademy.biz. All right, let's get into our next story. So this is a story that's coming from Fox News, and it says, nurses speak out what I wish I'd known before entering the profession. With nearly 2/3 of nurses in the United States experiencing burnout, which includes about 69% of those under the age of 25, according to American Nurses Association, many in the industry are calling for change. A recent survey by AMN Healthcare, a healthcare workforce solutions company based in Texas, found that most nurses aren't optimistic about improvements, with 80% saying that they think the year 2024 will either be no better or worse than last year, and 38% of nurses expecting it to be worse. The concerns that many nurses have about the profession were not created by COVID-19 and have not gone away now that the crisis has passed, said Robin Johnson, Group President of Nursing Solutions at AMN Healthcare. Many nurses still feel overworked and uncompensated, she said. What they want to see is a change in their daily working conditions, better hours, fair compensation, and more time with their patients. Amid the ongoing challenges faced by today's nurses, 6 people in the profession shared what they wish they'd known before they entered the field and what advice they'd give to newcomers. Lisbeth Vatruba says nurses don't have enough influence. Lisbeth Petruba is a third-generation registered nurse at Belmont, Michigan, and is also the chief clinical officer of Avasure, a virtual health care platform. She says, when I first entered the profession in the 1990s, I was surprised to learn that although nurses are held to high ethical and legal standards, they do not have the influence to match that level of accountability. I see trends to show this is changing, and I'm doing what I can as a member of the senior leadership team of a technology company to make sure the voice of nurses is heard as healthcare technology is being designed. Nurses must be at the table for every discussion about technology that impacts the patient. Matt Wellness said, wish I'd known the stress involved. Matt Wellness, a registered nurse in Big Rapids, Michigan, recently retired from a rural hospital after more than 34 years, most of them spent in critical care. He says, I wish I'd known the amount of stress that's involved in nursing. I would have taken more time off for myself. It wasn't until about a week after I retired that I realized how much stress I was blinded to. He added, I used to lie down and instantly could feel my heart pounding, always thinking about work, but not anymore, and I sleep better. Larry Williams, your work impacts your overall health. Larry Williams worked as a registered nurse at California Stanford Hospital in the intensive care unit before retiring in 2021. I went into nursing with my eyes wide open. There were no surprises because I worked in 2 different hospitals while going to school. My advice to anyone considering nursing and healthcare in general is to find a way to actually work in a hospital prior to graduating. Pay attention to your strengths and weaknesses and choose an area that fits you as a person. He also told Fox News Digital, while you're working, pay attention to how your work is impacting your overall health. Not everyone is cut out to work in the ICU. I still have occasional work dreams, and I remember the names and faces of people I cared for who did not survive. That is balanced by the happy memories of my peers as well as lives that I have touched. It is not the career for everyone, but it was for me. And then Carrie Ryan says, bedside nursing is not the only option. Carrie Ryan currently is the chief nursing officer at health tech firm RT Site, who spent 27 years as a nurse in Florida with a specialty in medical surgical orthopedics. She says, I wish I'd known that bedside nursing is not the only option available in order to make an impact. There are so many specialty opportunities, including nursing informatics. She added, if nursing school offered exploration in nursing informatics and other subspecialties, it would open a new world of possibilities, not only to those entering the field, but as a consideration for nurses later in their career who may want to transition but remain in the profession. Caitlin Blackburn, constant pressure took a toll. Caitlin Blackburn is a former nurse who is now an entrepreneur who worked 12-hour night shifts for Parent Access in Chico, California for over 2 years before leaving the field. She says, I wish I would have known more about how my personality would affect my profession in the medical field. I am empathetic and caring. However, the field itself comes with a lot of pain and anxiety for patients and their families. The constant exposure to hardships on top of the pressure providing comfort and support to the patients and their families definitely took its toll on me. She added, I wish I had thought less about the income and salary and more about what the actual job entails. You must find something you're passionate about and ensure it will secure your family financially. I have always had an entrepreneurial mindset and a personality driven to achieve more, so I decided to pursue something I felt more aligned with. Here's another quick quote. Michelle Acito, emotional bond is deep. Michelle Acito is an executive vice president and chief nursing officer at Holy Name Medical Center in New Jersey. She joined Holy Name in 1989 as a telemetry nurse, working in the cardiovascular intensive care units before she was promoted. Early in her career, she worked as a staff nurse in orthopedics at St. Joseph University Medical Center. She said, I wish I'd known the emotional commitment I was making. We know we will be committed to providing the best care, but the emotional bond and commitment you make to patients and families as they navigate through life-changing events is deep. As a nurse, you quickly learn how to comfort, celebrate, support, and educate patients and families through the good and the difficult times. She added, today, nearly 40 years into my career, I am able to reflect on how my training as a nurse helped me to help patients and families during the most vulnerable moments. It is what makes me proud to be a nurse. Another thing I wish I had known before entering the profession was how complex it would be to blend a career, a young family, and a household. So those are just some of those quotes. You can look at this article again on Fox News. I think this is a great article, and this is kind of putting in perspective the things that we have been saying, which is why we're having our event, our Fall Back in Love event. So I encourage you to take a look at that article as well. All right, let's get on to our next news article. It says torturous labor, a baby's death led to midwife suspended by Arizona State Board of Nursing. I usually don't like to put these types of articles out because, again, I want things to be more in a positive perspective. But I think this is important when these issues come up so that we can talk about them as a practice and a profession, so that we can know what pitfalls to not fall into. So this is coming out of Arizona, and it says a certified nurse midwife based in Gilbert was suspended by the state. The Arizona State Board of Nursing says concerns about the midwife have been building up for some time. This comes more than a year after her former client's baby died during labor. The reality is, Karen Braun has continued to practice as a midwife since this tragedy last March, up until the state ordered an emergency suspension last week. A Gilbert based midwife was suspended after the neonatal death of a baby during delivery. Findings show she has continued her practice for more than a year since the tragedy occurred. Fox 10's Justin Loom investigates. So it says a woman in pain, voice breaking to the Arizona State Board of Nursing May 16th. The trauma, grief, and pain and suffering my daughter has experienced, we do not wish on any other family. We aren't identifying her, but on March 3rd of 2023, her daughter, known as patient AP, had a breech pregnancy. Her midwife at the time was Karen Kalincho Braun, owner and clinical director of Gilbert Family Birth Center and Balance Midwifery. The center's website shows Braun's bio, saying she's been attending birth since 1994. State records show that AP was discharged by Braun due to a breech pregnancy, which is out of the scope of standard for a midwife. Documents say Braun provided medication orders to a certified professional midwife instead of transferring AP to a more qualified provider. A certified professional midwife, also known as a non-nurse midwife, is licensed by the state's Department of Health, held under different standards. So this is why I bring these up with these practice issues, because you have to know when you're making these referrals and these decisions who you're referring to. So they said they believe that Karen Braun and her friend and business associate Allison Gordon are responsible due to their conduct. So AP's prolonged labor lasted nearly 2 days. Instead, Karen and Allison chose to put my daughter through 43 hours of torturous labor, traumatic birth, endangering her life and suffocating my granddaughter. Braun came to the pregnant woman's home to drop off supplies and medical records. Karen continued to praise and encourage my daughter to be strong and have endurance, and my daughter continued to trust Karen and Allison that they knew what they were doing and that she was safe, but mom and baby was not safe. Still, no transfer of care to a more qualified provider. The patient's mother says her daughter sustained serious injuries and the baby died during the delivery. Findings reveal Braun has violated Board of Nursing standards since 2020, accused of admitting a patient to a birth center who had ruptured membranes for more than 24 hours. The board said Braun did not initiate transfer to a higher level of care when the same patient went into shock after losing a liter of blood. So they are saying that they have concerns that over periods of years, notwithstanding the years from the experience, that she has questions of competence, questions of judgment. The non-nurse midwife Braun allegedly referred patient AP to last March has been investigated by the Arizona Department of Health multiple times. Allison Gordon was suspended for 30 days in 2021 for being put on probation for 5 months. DHS findings said that she did not ensure a client had a hepatitis C test, did not meet standards on testing fetal heart tones, and waited too long to transfer the client to a hospital after a postpartum hemorrhage. After the March 2023 death of AP's baby, Gordon submitted a midwife report leading to an investigation by the Arizona Department of Health. So there's more to this story about the different allegations that they're making and the suspension of her license. Again, there's like 10 different things that they are listing, violations and things like that. I would just say the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, one, we have to make sure you're making those appropriate referrals, right? So nurses, make sure you know who you're referring to and what the scope of practice is for the person that you're referring to. So she referred to a non-nurse midwife for a breech delivery that lasted for over 2 days. And so that's where some of those issues. And I'm not an OB nurse. So I'm not an OB nurse. I don't profess to be, nor do I want to be. I'm not an OB nurse. I'm not a midwife. I'm not, so I can't make a statement about the standard of care in this issue. I'm letting the board speak for itself on what it's saying what the standard of care was. But if you're an OB nurse or you are a midwife, hey, let me know what you think about this, because I'm just curious. I've never seen anything like that where so something like that would go on and you would send them to a non-medical provider in case of a very dangerous delivery that was going on. And I guess my question is why didn't she just send her to the hospital? Okay. All right, here's another story. Going back to the nursing home where I'm more familiar with anyway. It says Walnut Hills Nursing Home was evacuated due to a bomb threat. I'm going to continue to report these stories because even though there may be little isolated events, this is a pattern that we're seeing, that we need to look at safety when it comes to other areas, and particularly in long-term care. Because I can tell you, having worked in long-term care, the safety measures just aren't there. Okay, so bomb threat prompts evacuation of local nursing home. This is coming out of Ohio. I don't know what's going on with Ohio, but this is Walnut Creek, Ohio. And it says a Holmes County nursing facility and retirement community was evacuated on Friday morning due to a bomb threat, according to the county sheriff. Deputies responded just before 10 a.m. to the Walnut Hills facility along Old Plum Street in Walnut Creek, according to a news release from Holmes County Sheriff Tim Zimmerly. The threat came by phone and received by a facility worker, according to the release. The call specified a time and date for the detonation, but did not say where the bomb was located. Staff began evacuating both of the buildings before authorities arrived. They remained outside while deputies, firefighters, and EMS workers searched the buildings. Staff members continued to care for residents while outside. EMS workers examined 2 of them for minor medical complaints, reads the release. The residents later returned to their buildings. The Holmes County Emergency Management Agency prepared alternate facilities and transportation should residents need to be relocated, according to the release. Holmes County Sheriff's deputies are continuing to investigate. We don't know why this was called in, who called it in, but it just seems like another one of those concerning issues that continue to happen across the country. So as we get ready, we're going to take another short break, and then we'll get on to the rest of our news and wrap up for today. Wages, no work-life balance. Stop being eaten alive. Find your joy, strength, and happiness. Become the leader you are always meant to be. Nurse entrepreneurs are using their skills to launch successful businesses every day. Make your dreams come true. Join the Nurse Shark Academy and come feel the sun at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Okay, and let's get on to our next news story. It says Granite City nursing assistant faces federal charges for defrauding elderly patients. This is from East St. Louis, Illinois. A nursing assistant from Metro East is facing federal charges for defrauding her elderly patients over a 13-month period. Prosecutors with the U.S. Attorney's Office for Southern District of Illinois said Makisha A. Hill of Granite City, Illinois, worked as a certified nursing assistant at University Nursing and Rehabilitation in Edwardsville from October of 2022 through June of 2023, and Meridian Village in Glen Carbon from August to November of August 2023. Hill, 35, is accused of using her elderly patients' credit and debit card and bank account information for personal purchases greater than $1,000 without their permission or knowledge. Hill was charged through a federal grand jury with 2 counts of access to device fraud, 6 counts of aggravated identity theft, and 1 count of possession of 5 or more identification documents. Financial crimes against the elderly are prevalent, but it's especially disturbing when nursing home patients are targeted and victimized by the medical professionals who are entrusted with their care, U.S. Attorney Rochelle Aud Crow said. If convicted, Hill could be punished for up to 15 years of punishment for each count of access device fraud, as well as a 2-year mandatory sentence for aggravated identity theft charge. Hill faces an additional 5 years of imprisonment for possession of 5 or more IDs. So again, I bring those stories up because I want people to understand, don't do these things. Don't do these things. Okay? This gets you into more trouble. It's not worth it. And now this person, if found guilty, will be going to jail. And deservedly so. Okay. And I want to say, first of all, congratulations to all the nursing students that have graduated and are getting ready to take their NCLEX. I just want to say congratulations to you all. I think this is wonderful. And I just think it's just great. And I'm excited to have new nurses coming into the profession at this time. All right, here's our last story. This is our Nurse Making a Difference story. It says, it feels great. WSSU assistant professor retires after a 50-year nursing career. This is as National Nurses Month come to an end. This is from WX 2XII 12. All right. So Winston-Salem, North Carolina. As National Nurses Month come to an end, WXII 12 is recognizing one woman whose nursing career spans 5 decades. For the last 20 years, Ellington McCullough has taught as an assistant professor at Winston-Salem State University School of Nursing. Now she's hanging up her hat and retiring with several accomplishments under her belt. It feels great, McCullough said, but I must say I'm the oldest of the faculty members here. It's time to clear out the office after more than 2 decades of memories. I will still assist any student that needs assistance, she said, and I will stay as current as I can. McCullough is from Winston-Salem and started her nursing career as an LPN after graduating from Forsyth Technical Community College. She later graduated from WSSU with a BSN and went back to school a second time, graduating with honors in 1976. Being an LPN, I worked in the operating room at Atrium Health, which was Wake Forest. I did all my training there in the operating room, and then I lived in New York for a while, utilizing those skills. Even as a brand new graduate, McCullough became the head nurse intensive care at Forsyth Hospital. She worked there for 34 years and was even the first African American supervisor for the house. She taught nurses as far away as China. I help new nurses pass the nursing exam, said McCullough. I'm known for that. In her retirement, she plans to finally take time to relax, but also she says she'll assist any student in need of any of her expertise and assistance. She says, I still have the mindset, the knowledge, and the skill set, not to practice, but to honor students with my knowledge, if need be. She looks forward to seeing more students find successful careers in nursing and says around 120 students were just admitted to the program at WSSU. A legacy was just named for her at WSSU on April the 5th. So I want to say congratulations to her on her retirement. Thank you for being a wonderful nurse and for your continued dedication to students. I thank you for all that you do. And she is our nurse making a difference. All right, so that ends our show. That's all of our news for today. Just again, want to make the announcement that our event, Fall Back in Love with Nursing event, will be coming up. So please join us on June the 1st. You can register for that at the NurseSharkAcademy.biz. Sign up for that. We still have some seats left. So I like to leave that. You can also sign up if you like, and I'll leave the link here just for you to have it. You can sign up on LinkedIn as well. It will be Zoom, so there will not be any, I won't be live streamed, but it will be Zoomed. If you can't make it, go ahead and register, because those who can't make it will get access to the replay. So you have limited time to get access to the replay that will be later put up on YouTube. So I just want to say anybody that comes or has registered will have access to the replay for a short period of time on YouTube. So join us for that event. Thank you for all of you that have watched. Thank you for joining us for the NurseSharkAcademy.biz. And don't forget our other show, the Nurse Shark Academy show, that is also available on YouTube and Podbean and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you. Don't forget to share this content, like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell on YouTube so you'll know every time we go live with the nursing news you can use at 5. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. Have a great rest of your weekend. Goodbye.